Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Today's guests, including John Shannon, standing by, brought to you by Langley Chrysler. Enjoy no-hassle 3-day returns and 30-day exchanges on all used vehicles, so you can make sure what you get is just right for you. And one of the largest inventories in BC. Don't just love your car, love buying it at langleychrysler.com. We're getting a lot of this into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox just ahead of John Shannon about how fights in the stands aren't the sole domain of the Canadian Football League.
No.
You go to an NFL game,
tons.
There are some beauties there. And you look on YouTube, I mean, that's a 30 for 30 waiting to happen. It's not just the Canadian Football League, certainly not just the BC Lions. Lions and Argos tomorrow. In the meantime, we bring in NHL analyst and co-host of the Bob McCowan podcast, John Shannon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'd be more concerned if there's fights in the broadcast booth. That's really where I'd be more concerned.
Well, there have been some through the years.
There have been some.
I'm sure there have been.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has been a fact of life through our whole industry for a long period of time, and none of us want to tell the stories.
Yeah, that's right. There have been a few headsets thrown through the years. One time in Empire Stadium, as a matter of fact, but we won't get into any details.
People should not have thin skin about fighting at sporting events. We've all seen it. I mean, heck, the latest one, I don't know if you remember watching it on social media, the Tampa Bay fan getting leveled by the Ranger fan in the concourse at Madison Square Garden. Terrible. Guy got charged.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when it comes to liquor and sports and emotion, they don't necessarily always mix.
Yeah, there's some emotion in the Vancouver market today, John, because the Canucks have announced they've hired Dale Tallon as a senior advisor and pro scout. Your reaction?
Well, I guess I'm part of the old boys club, and I'm biased. I think Dale is going to be the right place at the right time. I think that the Canucks are using his strength as a scout. When you look at the players that this guy has helped develop in two other cities, in Chicago and in Florida, his fingerprints were over the Blackhawks, as you guys talked about. Although he actually did leave the organization a week before the infamous meeting in San Jose, where the management was informed of the Kyle Beach issue. He had been demoted the year before, in 2009, and in Florida. In fact, we had not to do a blatant plug here, but I'm going to. We had Dale on the podcast a month ago, and addressed these issues. And I was very comfortable with what he said and how he answered it. And I think that everybody involved, whether it be the league or the Canucks, I think that they're comfortable with what he's been through and what he can offer. I think the resource and the institutional knowledge that Dale Tallon can bring to any organization is worth its weight in gold.
Did he come across, John, as in your interview, as somebody who's still following the NHL very closely?
Oh, he's a lifer, Donnie. Yeah. He loves the game. He basically in many ways he was able to give a dissertation on how he scouts, what he looks for. It was a fantastic inside look at what makes Dale Tallon tick, and again at the same time show how much fire is in his belly to be part of this game. When you consider you were a first round pick in 1970 of this organization, I always think he's had a soft spot for Vancouver. Mm-hmm. As you and Thomas talked about in the last hour, yes, he was in line at some point with Francesco for a similar job that Jim had, but it was viewed that Jimmy was better qualified. This is a perfect match for everybody, I think, in Dale's world.
John, get ready. Could be a wild and wacky 2 weeks here in Vancouver leading up to the draft and free agency. JT Miller's camp this morning telling me, John, that they are aware that the Canucks are listening to offers on Miller. But the big question about Miller, John, is do the Canucks move him at the deadline, in the summer, or next year? What kind of feel are you getting?
Well, I think it has to go to, particularly on the 7th of July at the draft, what Jimmy and Patrick can get for him.
Yeah.
When his is value the most for the hockey club. It might just be on the draft floor when teams are trying to make a difference. He's trying to be that next level of a team like the New York Rangers that say, okay, we missed something. What are we missing? We're missing Miller's tenacity and his leadership. Although I think the Rangers were pretty impressive this year. But certainly I think there are teams out there saying that how does Miller fit into our system and what are we prepared to give up in the short term? He's not a small ticket, Rick. And that's going to be part of the challenge for teams in this flat cap era of 82.5.
Yep.
But at the same time, there are going to be teams going to be kicking those tires seriously in order to try to make sure that they make a difference sooner than later. Remember, teams, and we're seeing this with the coaching carousel too. Teams are desperate to get playoff dates because that's where you make your most money.
That's it.
That's why coaches were changed this year. Can you get us farther into the playoffs? When you think that some teams are making $5 million a game in the playoffs.
Yep.
If you can go another round, that's $20 million in your pocket without playing players' salaries. That's what teams are trying to do when you consider some teams have lost $50 to $60 million in the last couple of years.
John, the Avalanche were dead last in the NHL, I think 5 years ago. I'll never forget the article in the Denver Post, Fired Joe Sakic. And here they are on the verge of winning a Stanley Cup. What an amazing turnaround.
Oh, it hasn't been a quick fix though. Rick.
No, 5 years.
Your point.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah.
He's proved to be very, very smart. I think that we all knew that he was a really smart hockey player. I think we've learned in his own subtle, quiet fashion, he's a really, really smart executive. The Devon Taves trade alone should get him some sort of award. Although it should probably, we should probably give Lou a black star for it too. When you think that 2 second-round picks for a guy who was going to be on Canada's Olympic team, the trade that he did in order to get out of the Matt Duchene contract and the Matt Duchene situation, they got a guy who's injured now, but they've done very well in at a time that has allowed McKinnon to progress. Landeskog's a born leader. Rantanen has come along. Smart drafting. Chris McFarland, by the way, his assistant deserves a ton of credit too.
Yep.
Chris McFarland and he should be. I know you're talking about Ryan Johnson being lured away.
Yeah.
Chris McFarland is going to be one of those guys too. Chris McFarland's going to be a general manager in this league sooner than later. When they go get Byram and they get Makar in the draft. I mean, come on, that's brilliant stuff. And they weren't first overall, but they've done a great job over the well. And a lot of it is because of Sakic's patience and his persistence.
And I don't know if it was Joe's idea, but that strategy of using 6 skaters on the ice, I mean, that's amazing. I don't know who came up with it, John, but you have to give them credit.
Well, and at this point, somebody from Colorado will chime in and, John Cooper tried to use 7. Really, in the end, the whole storyline is how much of a head start did Nazem Kadri have? That's the story. How much of a head start? Happened on the near side of the ice, with everything happening on the near side of the ice, with all 4 officials looking to where the puck was on the penalty box side. How quickly could you notice, and how far did you notice whether Kadri was coming off the bench? That's really the story. Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. Do you? Come on.
Well, I just think
hockey.
but he had a big head start. I think that's the
about
problem.
20 feet.
Yeah.
I think about 20 feet.
Yeah. I think it's going to go to review, John. It has to, because I thought it looked bad.
That's an interesting one. Because this was always the slippery slope, Donnie. And Coley used to tell me this all the time when I worked at the league. I said, that should be reviewable. Well, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Well, the line has been moving. and I wouldn't object to it. I wouldn't object to it. You know, there is an allowed call in the rule book called illegal substitution, where the play can be blown down and just the puck dropped at center ice. If the officials notice something as egregious as this, as opposed to too many men on the ice. But I just think that, you know, things were happening so fast and so intense in overtime. I just think they didn't see it.
One of the things that's going to make the offseason extremely interesting, that discussion. John, thanks for this. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. I guess I don't have to sing the Lion fight song again. This is unbelievable. My brother Ross, who watches in Vernon every week, you know, he's got the Lions flag flying out in the front yard. Oh, you know, he keeps requesting that I sing the Lions fight song, but I'm not doing it now.
If they win on Saturday, you can do it next Thursday. Okay.
Okay.
Remind me.
I may just come on and start singing it. You know.
Okay. Okay. That'll be the world's shortest television segment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen some of Ryan's. They're pretty short.
Yeah. Oh. Thanks, John.